And I start this recording. Thank you very much for joining us all together here for this special meeting and talk with. And today we're going to host in this episode the chairman of the FIVB Development Commission and also a very senior jury member and supervisor, Mohammed Mushtaque. Thank you for joining us, Mohammed.
It's my pleasure, Roy, to be here with you and to be with my colleagues. I say colleagues because I consider referees generally as colleagues, you know, so I am really happy to be here with you guys and to be able to share this moment with you.
It's always to be colleagues because from my experience being with you in Puerto Rico several years ago, you've been most of the time, the free time you've been with the referees. You would eat with the referees, you had good time with us and everything. You were one of our parts, and even you are in our WhatsApp group as well.
I think that if I'm not wrong, maybe this WhatsApp group started in Puerto Rico, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many different WhatsApp groups now, but I recall in Puerto Rico is when WhatsApp was beginning. The app was now starting to emanate itself, and we had a group there, and the same group expanded.
Yeah, slowly with years, we added more and more members, and it becomes the big family now.
Yeah, certainly.
First question, as usual, to all my interviewers: how did volleyball enter your life? What is your first memory and recollection of volleyball? Well,
you use a good terminology. How did volleyball enter my life? You know, but I can say that yes, it did enter my life rather than I entered volleyball life, because I grew up in a small village in Trinidad, in the southern part of Trinidad, and in that village, it was probably one of the very few volleyball courts in the world. I'm sorry, I said world, in Trinidad. and in that court was just across the road from where I live. And I grew up there. My uncles and my neighbors, they used to play volleyball. And that volleyball court, you know, Trinidad has the largest asphalt lake. Mm-hmm. And in that volleyball court was made out of asphalt.
Wow.
We had no knee pads then. So there was no fantastic diving.
For sure.
Right? No use of a libero. But because the volleyball court was an outdoor court, and my uncles, I was a small guy around, I and some of my other colleagues, my friends growing up, we used to be on the periphery of the court to the either ends, like the ball retrievers, collecting the ball from going into the neighbor's backyard or something, so that we used to prevent the ball from going off that area and throw back the ball for them to play. And at that time, we only had one volleyball. There wasn't 5 and 6. There was just one volleyball. And that is how I entered volleyball, as you would say, as a ball retriever. In these normal terminology. So yes, and that is how I got involved in volleyball. But when I was growing up, I played cricket more than I played volleyball. And if you know, for those of you in the Commonwealth who would know what cricket is, you know, cricket was my passion. And in our region, in the Western region here, cricket is a big sport. Like soccer in America, in Europe, cricket is the big sport. So I played cricket. Matter of fact, my name Mushtaque is a cricketer's name.
Really?
Yeah, it's a name that originated, well, a cricketer, a real famous cricketer who was actually, I mean, that's a quick thing, the youngest cricketer in the world who was in the Guinness Book of Records too, who's played test cricket, who traveled from Pakistan to the Caribbean and played test cricket at the age of 13 years and a few months. So he was listed in the Guinness Book of Record, and when that team traveled from Pakistan to the West Indies, my father fall in love with a name, and so I have a cricketer's name, not a volleyballer name.
So
That's how I got
so I
involved
hope
in volleyball.
you are not like a traitor or something. You found your goal still with a different name.
Well, actually, I still love cricket. I still love to watch a very interesting game of cricket. I know in Dubai there is cricket now, and there in Sharjah there is cricket. So there's a lot of cricket being played there. But I still love a good game of cricket. I still love to watch cricket. So yes, if you're in the Caribbean, like you, Roy, or anyone, you definitely watch a good soccer game.
Mm-hmm.
And you enjoy watching a good soccer game, right? But your passion is still involved in volleyball, as a, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And so how did you arrive to the professional level of volleyball in your life? I mean, you were a player, or were you going to become a referee? We are always with the referee, so they said we were players, we became referees.
Historically, I mean, I used to be a national referee.
Okay.
So I referee. I understand the rules of the game quite well. I'm a FIVB level 2 coach, up to level 2 coaching. I also do beach volleyball. I'm also a technical delegate for beach volleyball, for all you know. But my wife don't like the story of how I got involved in international volleyball. Look, at a higher level. The reason being is that the same year we got married is the same year I joined the National Federation as an assistant secretary, not as a player, not as a coach, but as an assistant secretary. And in that year, 1988, I got married in April, and in November, I was the National Federation assistant secretary. And that being an assistant secretary at that time, the era evolved. You know, it evolved from being assistant secretary to the Trinidad National Federation to being the secretary in a couple of years' time after that. So I think it was around 1990, I became the secretary. In 88, I also attended my first Congress at Nausicaa. I attended in 1988. And it's strange enough that that year, there was a general election in Nausicaa for Confederation presidents. So I had to vote, and the first time I went, I don't know who is who. I was just told, vote for this one. And I went. My president then was a member of the board of Nausicaa, and he said, come, because the delegate need to vote and not him. And I'm the delegate, and vote for this one, you know? And I went and voted. And Dr. Acosta was there in our meeting also, and Malu. Yeah. So that is how I got involved in administration. And then, I'm a school teacher by profession. Well, I retired school teacher now, but as my profession was a school teacher. And being a school teacher, and I love to do things differently. And then in 1988, 1990 was an era of the computer. So the computer was become a thing of the new norm, as we say now. And I was learning to be using a computer and all that. So I was the younger guy who was to use the computer, and hence would have done all the planning and all the preparation of the documents, you know, for my national federation. Yeah. Anything FIVB sends, I would do it. And so I got very okra with all the administrative side of volleyball. Okay, and hence from there, it just went from one to the other to the other. But I mean, in retrospect, you know, I always like to think that I think I'm a spiritual person, you know, and I tend to think that we have plans and God has plans. But it differs and it depends on whose plan takes priority.
Yeah.
And when God plans take priority in your life, things evolve differently. The dots lines up, you know, everything line up. And if I were to reflect on my past 30 years in volleyball, it went progressively better and higher and higher. And I think all because I allow myself to be used as an instrument to better people's life, I want to think. And sport gave me that opportunity. Volleyball gave me that opportunity. Being a teacher gave me that opportunity because I like to teach. I believe that in the world that we can learn so much from each other. And if the knowledge that you have is not yours, and if you share it with somebody else, then that knowledge becomes doubled. And I believe that if you knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. And this is why I think as I grow and I got involved, when you do good things follow you. I believe I always try to do good, and good shall always follow you. So the Almighty God has been has been guiding my footsteps in that. As I said, I started as being a ball retriever, went on to be the captain of my club's volleyball team, went on to be the general assistant secretary, went on to be the secretary, went on to be vice president of NORSICA, and it evolved. And then board member at FIVB, and a few years ago, was honored because my profession, and apart from being a school teacher, in the civil engineering department, I have a master's in sports for development. And then FIVB had, I always was, since I think 2008, I think it was, when I became the secretary of the Development Commission, and then eventually the president of the Development Commission of FIVB. So this is how I believe that my life wasn't, I didn't have a say.
I think I can tell you that from my experience and from people that I've talked to that know you, the way you talk about how to get the giving and the positive effect of being together, it's felt very strongly from our side, meaning receiving from you. You are very open and giving and friendly and helping that. It's very difficult not to cooperate with you, not to be involved with you or to do things together. So positiveness flows from you, and just like a magnet, it attracts people to work with you together.
Well, as I say, those characteristics is not mine. It's a characteristic that Almighty God allowed me the opportunity to be like that. And being like that is a characteristic that God has blessed me with, and I give thanks and praise to Him, the Almighty, for allowing me to be that type of person, to be personable with you. I remember what the statement you're saying there is that I remember in Thailand, I went and, some of the different world championships or championships at the FIVB level, you go and there is a separate room for the referees to eat and a separate room for the control committee members to eat.
Yeah.
And in Thailand, I had the opportunity to change that. I said, guys, I came down and I said, I don't like this. However, the facility, the way it was, the rooms were two smaller rooms. And then I said, well, how can I change it? They said, well, they have no space bigger. I said, okay. Then how can we change it? We can change it by taking off the signs on the doors. There is no control committee and there's no referees. Anybody could go in any room and eat. And I decided I'm going to go into, and now, because the first couple of days people went to this room for referees and went to the next room for control committee, it sort of stayed like that. But I decided, no, I am going into the referee's room to eat, because I want to make sure that we are all one. We are no different, And I wanted to, because I want people to feel comfortable to come to me if there is a problem. And if I were to look at this, like seeing that there's some hierarchy in the organization, of course structurally there is an hierarchy. The ultimate power might be lied on the president of the control committee. But that doesn't mean to say that we are still human beings. We are still equal, Our functions might allow us to do different things. But on the social side, we are the same, you know. So that is, yes, and I thank you for those comments, Roy, and for how the observation you have made.
Of course. Let's talk about a little bit about your work as a jury member, and a supervisor. In briefly, tell us what the duties are of a jury member during the tournament or a single match, just to refresh our memory about that.
Well, if we were to look at the structure of FIVB tournament or any world tournament, the president of the jury commission, and I'm not saying I'm the president, I'm saying the president, whoever is the president, represents FIVB and represents generally the president of FIVB. All right, because the president of FIVB, according to the structure and the regulations, is the onus is on the president of FIVB to designate somebody to represent him if he is not there by himself. Mm-hmm. All right, so we are there to represent the FIVB's interests. And what does it mean to represent the FIVB's interests? FIVB interests is not only about what happens on the FIVB side, because the FIVB is the one who is the owner of the tournament. And as being an owner of the tournament, you have various partners. The host might be a city, might be a country, the sponsors, and the National Federation and their teams who are participating. And each one of them, there is an interest. And each one of the interests must be satisfied. So the role of the control committee is to ensure and to make sure that these interests are not violated. And there is no disadvantage from one to the other. Mm-hmm. And that's just simply explain it. Of course, there are regulations that governs it and guides it. But that's just simply explain it is that we are there to ensure that we provide, if you were to say, the administrative aspect of the event to make sure that it all conforms to the regulations. And where it cannot conform to that specific regulation, that you can make the appropriate adjustment to ensure that the credibility of the event remains intact, to ensure that there is neutrality on all sections, to ensure that the players' safety and security are also intact. You know, so that generally is what the control committee does. Now, within the control committee, of course, we have by game, you have a jury member. Okay, so anybody who from the control committee can perform that task. But generally, within the control committee, the component of the control committee, which is the highest adjudicate, the ones who adjudicate on everything, will be comprised of the referees department, will be comprised of the jury department, will be comprised of the hosts, the television department, and also all of these components. Every component that is represented at the event can be part of the control committee. And there is where the reporting is done to make sure that, hey, that the media room is not operating properly.
Yeah.
So the media department will come and tell you, look, something happens here, or there is no microphone, let's say, you know, and then nobody can hear when we do an interview, or translators are not there, or at the referees department, you know, the chairman of the referees, mm-hmm. they call him the referees coach now, you know, but the referee delegate or the referee would come and tell you that from an administrative side, the referees don't have a proper washroom, let's say, you know. So it is for us, from our perspective, to try and make sure that all of these aspects are taking place and ensure that through the different mechanisms that are there, the host in general, or the organizing committee more specifically, can facilitate and make those adjustments to ensure that we are there.
How much freedom does the jury member or the president of the committee has when he's facing decisions that are not by the regulations, meaning something is not going on by the regulation? How much freedom of choice he has, or does he have to report to the FIVB and receive the information from there, or they're letting him to decide on his own on his own professional and his own experience?
Theoretically, he has the say, he or she, because they are representing FIVB's interests. And FIVB will only delegate that responsibility on somebody who they know that can make a fair judgment. And they're not going to compromise the integrity of FIVB. However, with technology now, it is much easier for us to immediately, on the spur of the moment, communicate with FIVB departments. And even the FIVB structure is such that for each event, there is somebody who is alongside you. Even they might be in Switzerland, but they are alongside you to say, look, I have a situation, it might be a legal matter, you know? And of course, with some legal matters, and you don't want to chance it, you know? And with the world of litigation that takes place, a lot of people they can have a case, a legal case. In time gone past, in the days of our former colleagues who will be there, they didn't have the facility of communicating, and then there was not so much legal obstacles, you know, because you can come across many things that can, from ambush marketing, from somebody wearing a different color shoe, you know, something that could be trivial.
Today there is tattoos, or there is pads on the hands and stuff.
Right, yeah. Something that means something, you know. I remember in Japan last year, somebody made a gesture in a photo. And to me, I'm accustomed with that particular gesture to mean something else.
Yeah.
And it meant something else in a different culture. And hence we are, and how do we handle that? We have to be there to be able to handle it and to be able to allow it not to go out of context, but still maintain, as I said, the integrity of the environment, but do not hurt anybody's culture, you know? Because wherever we are exposed to so many different cultures. And something that means something else in your culture would mean different in my culture. So it's good that when for myself, as a jury commissioner, a jury member, or if I'm president of the control committee, I will expose my knowledge before I go to the event to kind of find out and expand to know what is taking place, so that some of these things may not offend, like simply shaking somebody's hand. In one culture, it is okay, and the other culture, it is not. You know? So yes, so it's the ambit of what is your leeway. It is wide but narrow. You know, and we are so accustomed to many things that very few things will surprise us.
Yeah.
So the competition regulation, the specific competition regulation, in most cases, just like how you have a referees regulation or referees, the rule book and the case study, we have to study the regulations. And we should study the regulations to bring ourselves ahura with what is taking place inside it, as it governs everybody's function and where their parameters are, you know, and what the dividing lines that one would not be crossing each other. And when you have those things happen, we have cause for confusion. So we all have to have knowledge about it.
How does the interaction with the referees work? What do you need or look for them as a jury member? What are you looking from the referees of the match or of the tournament while being there?
Well, our function with the referees are very limited, very few, in terms of what is our expectation. Our expectation is more channeled through the referee's coach, But
it could be that you are not in a tournament, but a single match or several matches without a referee delegate, a referee coach, because like in the VNL there was no referee coach.
Yeah. Well, of course. So I was going to make a situation, because in the past, the referee delegate used to sit alongside the jury commission member. So there were two people on the table.
Yeah.
The referee delegate and the jury member. And that used to assist us, but it also made us lazy, in that we would have depend a lot on the referee commission member to guide us when they might have something that came up that might become very technical in the nature. And so when that change was made, I felt a bit, for want of a better word, so naked, But I lose my colleague who was on my side, Fortunately for me, because as I said, I had the knowledge of being a referee before, and I had many experiences as a player, as a coach, as an administrator, hosting events also in Trinidad and Tobago. And all of these experiences come together to allow me the knowledge to be able to respond to situations. So from a referee, that's one of the reasons I try to work close to the with the referees, is that so that they also see the opportunity to come and chat, and also in cases where they have uncertainty as to, should I go to the referee's coach for this one, or should I come to the jury table on this one? Somebody show up and they have two different color, slightly changed color shorts. The pants one might be washed out, darker looking grayish, and one looking black. What do you do? The team show up with a different color uniform, and you as the jury commission member missed it. The referee commission member the referees will sometimes pick it up because it's on the bulletin, and they will come to you, well, what to do? So we have to work together as from the administrative side and getting the game prepared. But once the game starts and that whistle blows, they're in control of their part and I'm in control of my part. I do not interfere with their part. I do not, say, hey, no, that was not a lift. No. Or even make any gesture from my side to say something that is not, I don't agree with you. I always agree with whatever the referee does at his point where it comes to him. The referee coach is the one who will decide on the technical side of it, if it was good or bad, or it was indifferent. But from my side, no. So what I want from the referees, of course, and what I have never had a problem with, is that they do what they have to do. They all know what they have to do. I don't interfere with what they have to do. And all I need to know is that they tell me all is good, or whatever they have a challenge, let me know so we can resolve it. So what I need from is attentive referees. We all are professional, we have to do our job. I want attentive referees. Because if you come to do a job and you did not check the pressure in the ball, and you started playing the game and two of the balls are soft, of course I would not like that. But generally, I'm just using an example that can occur.
Yeah.
You know, but generally all the referees are done what I've worked with, because we are international referees, you know. So there's an expectation that you would do what you come to do, you know. So this is what I want from the referees.
How do you work with the referee coach during the tournament? What is the collaboration between both of you?
Well, things has changed from when I started, you know. They used to have a lot more interaction between the referees coach and the president of the jury commission or the control committee. And as so far as even the nominations of the referees, when I started at one point in time, they used to be consultation, you know. And I guess a lot of this type of guidelines were from Dr. Acosta's days, you know. And Dr. Acosta had implemented a lot of things that, for particular reasons, right? I came on the kind of the tail end of Dr. Acosta days, so I wasn't really too much okra with what he used to do, but I knew, you know. But in terms of, because as I said, the president of the jury commission is representing technically the president of the FIVB. And if a referee's nomination or a game of importance go bad, who is responsible for it? You know, if I have seen cases where and I know that I'm picking on referees, but I've seen cases, and it's because we were as a team. A referee coach came to me, well, at that time it wasn't a referee's coach, it was a referee delegate, came to me and said, look, these are the, and you made it reference to Grand Prix and World League. It wasn't a Grand Prix event, and the referee coach or the referee delegate then, we had 4 games to do, because those Grand Prix were 4 games. And he came and he said, these are the nominations for tomorrow. And I mean, without this, error can take place. And the person who was like, for instance, a reserve referee was from the country that was playing.
Oh.
So right away I said, okay, and he also, it was an error, you know, but and we are human beings, you know, so it's like proofreading a document. You write a document and it's difficult for you to proofread the same document because you will not see those errors, you know. So the referee coach and myself, we work hand in hand together, you know. We encourage that relationship to be one of unity, and I have never had any issue with any of the referees coaches for any matter, administratively or even, because I trust their work. You know, I trust their work, and their work, although at the end of the day, I might be, if I'm the president of the control committee, might be ultimately responsible. I have seen referees coaches for courtesy. That's courtesy. You know, the night before he will send, these are the nominations for the referees for tomorrow, you know. And that's just for courtesy, you know. And we would read them and say, great, you know, because it helps us. It helped me. Sometimes I want to think that I'm a bit OCD, you know, OCD?
Yeah.
Obsession, you know, a bit obsessive about planning. You know, I'm really obsessive about planning. If I have to go to an event, I kind of strain from your question a bit, but it is coming back to the referees coach and the relationship. I like to know that things are happening. And sometimes I will go across to them and they will come across to me and say, well, whatever, sometimes they say President and Mushtaque or whatever, you know, what do you think about this? Or did you have any observation for us? You know? And this is the working relationship that we have. That because sometimes, as I say, we at a particular point, and you may see things that differently. We may see the same thing, but you see it differently. You know? So we share those perspectives, and they advise me and I advise them. So we work good together. But I was coming to the OCD part of me. is that if I know I'm nominated for a tournament, I want to know who my referees with me are. I want to know who the press delegate is, who's the medical delegate, who are my other colleagues, what is the structure of the tournament, and all of these things. I try to get involved with the organizing committee in planning the schedule and all that, because I want to send an email to all my other colleagues, you know, letting them know we're going to work as a team together. And so this is part of me, and that's part of my obsessive compulsive person that I am, you know.
You told me about an interesting encounters that you had with Coach Vital Hainan, which is watching with us or listening. He's cooking, but he's somewhere there. I guess you had several dialogues with coaches. I'd say dialogues, you know, some conversation, positive or negative. What do they usually protest about to the jury members? How do you work with them to resolve these kinds of protests or conversations?
Yeah. I want to compliment you and your team for involving the coaches in their conversation, you know, because when the coaches in the conversation, I realized that you were able to exchange thoughts about how we interact with each other and respect each other, you know. And in some cases, you have coaches come with their team and they have challenges, or they have a particular mindset. And of course, when they come to the court, you want to make sure that your coaches are as comfortable as your athletes, you know. And sometimes something might tick them off before. It may not be it may not be something that they have control over, or the organizing committee may switch their bathroom, let's say, just before they came. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, just like you and just like me, we plan our minds in a particular way. And we plan our approach based on that. And when we come as a coach or a jury commission member and you see, no. There is 6 chairs and it's supposed to be 8. That's saying something. Because somebody moved 2 from one side, but it didn't move the other 2 from the other side, you know? Or the warm-up zone on one side is different to the warm-up zone on the other side. And things like those. And the coach reached on the court, and these changes take place because earlier in the day they went to train in the court and they didn't see it like that. And they came back and they saw something else. So it ticks them off, you know? And immediately some coaches, I can say, I mean, Tilly, I love working with Tilly. I love working with Hyman too, so. But Tilly would come to you in a very, very nice way, you know, President or Mr. Mohammed or something, you know, this, that. And then somebody will come to you, another coach or another person will come to you and approach it differently, you know, and came with a very, so I have to try my best to calm everybody down. Okay, so what is the situation? What is causing you a problem, you know? And this kind of way. And then you see them coming down from up there and coming down and coming. I say, okay, so let's resolve it. Let's resolve. Let's see what we can do to resolve it. Let's see first to begin, why is it like that? And what we can do to resolve it. Now, of course, our coach, they don't want to hear that sometime. They come planned, prepared to execute, especially if it's a finals, especially if it's a world championship gold medal match, you know, or it's a semi-final where this semi-final match is going to be played against France and I am Belgium and I'm playing it in France, and everything that they see in France is for France and against Belgium. So everything that they go on the court and they see will be a perception in the mind that if one paddle is in the box, and I'm using paddle now, but now we don't use paddles.
Yeah.
If the paddles were 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 was missing, and they don't have number 2 on the court, they will come and make a fuss about the number 2. You know, but hey, coach, do you have number 2 on your jersey? No. Okay. All right. So do you need number 2? Yes. Okay, I'll go and get number 2 for you.
Yeah.
So I know, and this is how, but yes, we have encountered many challenges. I remember Vital and I in USA, you know, and I see he came on there eating his burrito. But you know, Vital he loves his computer.
Mm-hmm.
And of course he stands and he walks and walks. He don't sit as a coach to check it. And so he wants to have access to his computer at probably eye level or as close to as eye level to check what is happening between sets. And he could not have put it how it was. So he was using some of the bottles. And to me, I said, hey, this doesn't look safe, you know, but it doesn't look from a marketing perspective, it doesn't look well. The aesthetics is being compromised. So I had to go across to him and ask him, how can we resolve it, you know? So, but you know, at the end of the day, you try to make sure that we work together as a team and you don't try to have the environment where they can be discomforted, because the coach is important as the athlete and as the referee, as the ball shaggers do, you know. I'm not belittling anybody, but everybody has their degree of importance. And some coaches are very easy to work with, and some coaches by temperament, that is how they are, you know. And you need to know that. I need to learn my coaches. I need to learn who am I going to be working with. And hence I'm prepared based on which coach I'm working with, which the coaches of the respective teams, to know how to analyze and handle situations that might come up.
So do you feel that you are giving service to the coaches, to the teams, to the coaches? What your job is to serve, not to be a server, I mean, working for them, but you are giving service work for the teams and for the participants, if it's the coaches or the players, just to make them everything comfortable for them and to finalize, to have a great show with no problems.
Precisely, exactly that. Not only that, the fans are included under our responsibility, you know. So yes, the thing about it, as I said, we are there, as I said earlier, we are there to ensure that all the terms and reference of the regulations are met without one infringing on the other. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you go to an Olympic game, athletes spend 8 years, 10 years preparing for that one moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go there, you want to make sure, and it's not only that, they prepare for that one moment to enter the Olympic Games, but it's a lot of time and money that has been invested. And that has to be respected. So when you come to an environment to play the world-class championships or the Olympic Games or whatever, you don't want any small obstacle. You don't want a splinter on the floor to cause an injury. So you want to make sure that even the ball retrievers do not toss the ball on the wrong location, that the athletes could get injured for some reason, while, you know, all of these, which you guys help do, you know, but there are every small detail that are there must be attended to so that the best playing environment is ensured. That is what our role and responsibility is for.
And it's done not just before the beginning of the tournament, or the match. It's also during the match, meaning you have activities, or you are active during the match. Would you get up from your chair and go and tell that specific, or get somebody to tell that specific ball retriever to roll the ball correctly, or that during the match itself you have an active way on the match?
Precisely. My eyes, when I'm at a game specifically, and all my other colleagues, is always roaming. Not only the ball retriever who might be doing that, and I tell you, I see things. I do see things, you know, because you have to have an eye.
Yeah.
You have to have that awareness, and you have to be alert. you know how our athletes love to stretch outside the box. You know, our artists love to use the advertising board to put their foot on and throw their towel on it. For them, they don't see it as an issue. But the image that it produces in the television is so bad. So what do? You go across and tell them, I don't want you to put that there. No. You go across and ask them, guys, will you kindly remove that? It's not looking bad on television. It's looking so bad on television that you would not want to see how it looks, you know? And then they smile at you and they go. And as you turn your back and they go back, you know, you have experienced that. You turn your back and you go, they do it again. And then when it's time to see you walking 2 steps to them, they move it quickly. Because they are aware, and then sometimes they just want to be troublesome, if you want to use it, put it that way. But sometimes, you know, they are athletes, you know, so they are part of the entertainment. But yes, not only, I can tell you, I mean, in terms of even sometimes we have the press cameras. There are locations where the cameras should be, where you will have a local photographer who will want to sneak in behind you or the control area and take photos. So you have to call your press delegate or the local press officer or the control committee person or the person on the floor who represents the organizing committee. Can you kindly tell that guy the regulations or guide him where he should be? You know, don't tell him, don't come here.
Yeah.
Just guide him where he should be and tell him why he should not be here. You know? So this is how we approach, this is how I approach things. Because if you are educated as to why, then you will understand why I should not.
Understood.
You know?
Let me ask you, during the match itself, jury member has no right to penalize or to punish a team member for some kind of behavior. Usually it's the coaches who do that, the referees, sorry. Of course, after the match, such actions can be made. Today, the referee's coach sits in a different place than in the hall and not close to the jury table. Were there any special cases you can remember that it would be better to have the referee coach close to the jury member or sitting at the jury table and not so far away to control some situations?
I understand the rationale that has been used by FIVB and our president to move the referee's coach from on that advantage position. But I make it my business to know where they are sitting. So that, because if I need to consult, I need to consult quickly. I need to know how to get there. And sometimes because of the size of the gym facility, the security, so you always make sure that the security know you, you know, that if I'm coming through the zone, that I can access it and that. But in terms of penalizing and stuff like that, at this World Championships level and the tournament level that we, FIVB events are the highest level event. It's not like a club event that you have in your country, where you have many, many different interpretation and obstacles. So at FIVB events, you play with professional players, you have professional coaches, you have professional referees, professional staff. So you expect minimal. But they have had incidents. In the World Championships, there was one. The last World Championships, and I was there. I was a jury member there. Very uncomfortable situation for me to deal with, you know? But I had to deal with it and deal with it in a way that everybody was happy at the end. But fortunately, what took place at the World Championships and that scenario, I don't want to just identify anybody, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Fortunately, more harm wasn't done, you know, but it was dealt with, you know, and you had to deal with it outside the court, not at the moment, you know, but there are situations, and yes, I can say that sometimes I would have loved to have my referees coach closer to me, but as I said earlier, the nature of my knowledge with most of these things, my colleague in Trinidad, Brian, and I, we consult each other, and he's my encyclopedia when it comes to rules. Sometimes I can tell you, I'm saying it in front of everybody here, No. I would say, message him, Brian, while on the table, Brian, can you tell me the rule number that deals with this? And he would quickly check it and send it back to me, you know? And that is how I network with my colleagues, you know? Sometimes Willie, who might be in another event, and I have a challenge, and I say, Willie, this is a scenario here. Can you help me as to how you interpret it, or what can we do, you know? And so I have that network with the referee coaches. We have a strong working relationship, and we share commonalities, and we share the differences that we can help each other's work to progress better. So in terms of red cards and yellow cards and all these things, I haven't had such an experience, except that one that happened after the game. We've had the knowledge, not during the game too, you know?
So does a jury member have any direct superiority to the referees? Can a jury member intervene with the work of the referees in any way?
That's a trick question. I would say no. But I can also say yes. And I don't think it's a situation that can occur at the level that we operate. I mean, I can't think of an example now, but before there were alcohol tests, we had referees coming up to games that were intoxicated, you know, and that can compromise your judgment. Some referees in the past, not now, before we had alcohol tests, needed some sedation to take place, and they had to have something to go on, you know. But the medical guidelines now allow us to make sure that the referees are in good health condition. But we had, and it wasn't a situation in indoor volleyball and beach volleyball, a referee who got from United States, who got a heart attack on the court, you know. So those situations, you will have to intervene strong and make, but those are the 1 in a million situation, you know. But generally, we don't have a rule that says we must not, but still there is not a rule that said we can't, we should,
of course.
you know, but as you say, we act as professionals with the work that we do, and because what the referees are controlled of, we are not to interfere. We are there, as I said, for the administrative aspect. The referees are there to interpret the technical aspect. You know?
Okay. When there are protests from a team against the referees, not even during the match, but at the end of the match, aggressive protest, meaning not just some shoutings or everything. Sometimes coaches would come and protest in front of the jury table against the decisions of referees, or will do some kind of gestures and behavior. How do you handle this situation? Did you ever have to penalize a team member or for bad behavior? Even if you did, what is the procedure for that?
No. Generally, if I'm on the table and I hear something that might be interpreted as an unsportsmanlike conduct, when I have the time, like maybe a time off or something, I wouldn't interrupt the game. But if I have a small time in between, I would alert the second referee, you know, and said, look, this has taken place, and because now that we have headsets, you know, you can quickly communicate during those breaks. So, and he can make the first referee alert, you know. So when he goes back out, he could probably call the first referee, could probably call the captain. Welcome, Paolo. Call the captain and let him know, you know, he said, the coach said something, or the coach did something that he must pay attention to.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is how I would do something like that. Because of course, sometimes you guys would not see everything, right? But we have to, like yourself, I think you know that there are coaches who sometimes will be there to test your nerve, test your degree of knowledge and your patience and that kind of thing. And of course, it happens when the coach is losing. You know, whenever a coach losing the battle, they want to blame it on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't say there's coaches. This is our nature, maybe. Whenever we are not comfortable with something, we want to know why and who else should I blame? You know? So it's not a negative on coaches only, but it's generally. But of course, you know, but yes, somebody wants to know that at the end of the day, I didn't make the wrong sub. You caused me to make the wrong sub because you called that setter twice for ball handling, and I now have to change or something like that. Put in my backup setter, you know. But hey, the role of our relationship, the role of what we would do has to work in harmony. It's like making a puzzle, you know, a jigsaw puzzle. Each piece of the puzzle has its appropriate spot, and if it's not in that spot, it will never fit. So we all are part of that jigsaw puzzle to make the complete picture.
So let me try to ask you on a different situation where at the end of the match, one team protests against the referees, and the referees want to write a protest or a comment in the score sheet, meaning to be penalizing the team for behavior after the end of the match. What are these procedures? How do you handle this kind of situation?
Yeah, I miss the angle of what you're asking. Yeah, so whatever is written in the score sheet as we have it now, or in the e-score sheet, yes, we have to attend to it. Anybody could write it. I'm going to say anybody, the coach or the referee. Sorry, the captain or the referee, right? Can write. And if whatever is there and the remarks, we have to attend to it. If there are no remarks, we're happy. If there are remarks, we have to attend to it. And we will attend to it based on what the nature of it is, you know? If it's an expulsion of a coach for some reason, of course, things like those may warrant further action, right? Further disciplinary action. It might even, so we will then take the remarks, because the score sheets are brought to us at the end. We look at the score sheets, no remarks, fine. Go ahead. Remarks, okay, we have to make sure that we attend to those remarks, and sometimes we have a 24-hour window to respond to that. Because remember, if a player is being expelled or a coach is being expelled, he may have a game in 24 or 48 hours. So we have to make that decision. Apart from which, it has to be made so quickly, humanistically possible to make it so quickly. Hi, Sonia. To make it so quickly that we can, now that a team has to be announced within a particular period of time, the team that might be affecting that team, they have to know if this player is eligible or not eligible to play tomorrow. And they have a window on which to announce the team, so that it could go in the bulletin for the next day, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, we have to take the report, call the respective people, if it's the referee coach, the captains, whatever. If it's an infringement administratively, we call the organizing committee. Sometimes we have to involve the press, because the press need to know also, you know? The press need to know that this team is playing without so and so, because what the fans need to know why the captain of Poland is not playing tomorrow, you know? So all of it has its chronological order that has to be done within a timely fashion, so that all the follow-up decisions can be made. The team to announce the team depend on what the nature of the penalty is, or even the referee coach. If we have, it hasn't happened yet, if we found a referee was being not making certain calls that he should have, and the videos can do it. Hey, all we can do from our perspective is ask the referee, coach, please take a look at this. Tell us what is your observation and see. Because now in the world of as you would see, FIVB has implemented the ethics that it is in terms of betting, you know, and how we function, how we can influence the game or not influence the game or the outcome. So all of these things has created more complication in the administration of the game. But it hasn't happened yet. I haven't seen it happen. Or I don't know of any such cases.
Okay, just to remind you that the coach of the Polish team is listening to us, so be careful when you take the example of the coach, the Polish captain is not coming to play or something. He's going to remember that for you.
Well, I could say Trinidad, you know, but Trinidad don't play in the World Championships men's team. Yes.
Do you have seminars, online tests, or working seminars to keep updated and in focus for the jury members?
Yes, we have technical delegate seminars that we conduct with FIVB and all technical delegates, and this is very important that we do it because it brings the technical delegate into one thinking. It's like how you guys would do it, you know. So yes, we do have technical delegate seminars that will.
Did you ever encounter a jury member or any jury members who were not so professional, that were not accurate or going by the requirements of the FIVB? How this affected the matches?
Well, jury members don't affect the match, but what will happen is that, of course, you have younger jury members who would come on board, and you are like them. You have to mentor them, and you have to train them, and you have to guide them. And so, of course, when I was a younger person, which is just a couple of years ago, and but yeah, no, when I was younger, a long time ago, I learned, and I was exposed with working with senior colleagues of Alexander Borachich and all of these guys, Alwani and Cristobal Martinofis and all of these, and I learned from them. And they are three. I call three names, and they're three different styles. You know, and so yes, we learn from them. But I mean, the thing about it is that FIVB wouldn't put somebody or make a nomination to somebody to be on a jury commission member who are not prepared. You know, they would probably work. They must make sure that they had worked sufficiently at their confederation level. They learn the work and the function. And when they come to work with us, of course, it's definitely the first time I was working at the FIVB event was in Japan in 2003, you know. And that was my first event, and at the World Championships. And I was amazed when I got the selection, but I was happy, of course. But then I went, and I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks. And at the end of the event, well, at the end of my 2 weeks, they asked me to stay on, you know, for another extension of, because that was a 1-month event. And after the first 2 weeks, some of the people went home. And then they asked me to stay on, of course, because, you know, and I learned so much as we grow. And similarly, so there are younger ones, and there are younger ones who must be taught, and we have to teach them. Not everybody will be at the same level. So I have never come across somebody that did not function in the capacity. They may not do it at the level or apply certain judgment based on the wisdom or the knowledge that we have. But of course, you point it out to them. And when I know of such person, because now we are one person on the bench, I would sit in the back, somewhere in the stands, you know, and help them and observe and come down, and then they know I am there to help them and not to police them.
Yeah.
I'm there and they know that I'm not watching over the shoulder to everything that they're doing right or wrong. They're there, and if they have an issue, they would quickly call me and all. This happened. What can I do? What should I do? Because I learn the same way, and they must learn the same way. You know?
So some kind of like a referee coach. So
yes, well, in a smaller way, yes. Yeah. In a smaller way, yes, yes.
I know you have many good friends, referees, and like we spoke before, you're feeling one of our referee family. You always want to be updated with the refereeing information, and you are active and you are involved. Do you regret that you didn't become a referee?
No, no. I got the opportunity to benefit from both worlds. Because I was a national referee, but the time when Trinidad volleyball was progressing a bit, I would have passed the age.
Mm-hmm.
But that knowledge that I had as a national referee and being exposed to so many different events, I say no, I have ever had any, because as I said earlier, there's in my life, I couldn't say there's any regrets, because the steps that I take were not taken by myself. You know, there was, as I say, an external force that guide these steps. So I cannot regret any path that I took and said I should have done it this way, or I should have done it that way. I have the opportunity to benefit from both worlds, to be and sit with you guys and cook and make guacamole, as Patty said the last time. You know, I love to cook. I love cooking, as you, Roy. And I love when I go to an event that we can bring a home environment to our event and to exchange cultures within our relationship that we have. So if I have to understand a European culture, or more specific, an Israel culture, or a culture from Costa Rica, or to ask Sonia to tell us what does she have in the morning for breakfast, you know. I love to exchange and I love to work on cultures. So no, I haven't had any regrets not being an international referee.
We have one question from Martin. What happens when a team protests against the referees and the team wins the protest after the match, meaning the protesting about some situation that they have against the referees? Does it affect the outcome of the match? Meaning, is there any effect on the match if the team wins the protest at the end?
We have had situations where I can remember my other colleagues who are a bit senior to me, where a match had to be played over from the time the protest was found, you know, and I can't recall which, but I think it was either a World Championships or Olympic Games, or maybe an Olympic Games, I think, that and because of video and all that now, historically, that's a long time ago, and where an error was found, I think at the fourth set or something like that. And from that point, the match had to restart and then play it off. So it has very few such situation occurs. But FIVB used to have, since that took place, FIVB then started the judges conference, where the coaches or the captain or whatever can, and to prevent such situation from occurring, they have implemented the judges conference. So where the judges conference could quickly and resolve a situation, maybe a scoring error, that, because you know all of these have statisticians now, and somebody said the score, my score is different and that score is different, and so we can immediately do it like that. Okay, but FIVB have since removed the judges conference from that, and rightly so. It's because of the fact that we have so much technology involved now. You know, we have all the e-scoring and all the rally. Each point we can quickly go back to it and find the solution or find. But the important thing is to identify it, and identify it as soon or as close to when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So 3-4 points. I have seen, I could say, Nausicaa event. An entire rotation, Mexico versus Canada, continental championships. The wrong player entered the court in position 6. So when that person reached to score in position 1, the serve, sorry, at that point in time, 19-7, Canada in front, 19-7. I see Rob shaking his head. 19-7. Player entered the court. VIS didn't pick it up. Scorers didn't pick it up. Second referee didn't pick it up. And the coach didn't pick it up. And the wrong player started the game. Jury commission member didn't pick it up too. Because at that point in time, you have the rotation in your hand.
Yeah.
And this is where you need to be attentive. You know, and that's why, yes, you have asked me a question earlier, but we have had experiences where inexperienced jury commission members would have made such an error. But the error is really not so much, that person on the jury commission should have been that last person for that error not to have happened, and he should have picked it up. But for him to pick it up, he has to follow each player that entered the court and follow his rotation sheet, like the second referee too.
Yeah.
And like the coach, to make sure player number 7 is the correct player, not player number 1. What had happened, the statistician didn't pick it up because it was a 7.
Yeah.
And 7 and a 1 sometime could, you know.
Yeah, they were not
VIS, yeah, the VIS thought was the 7 that was written as a 1 or the 1 that was written as 7. One entire rotation, so we found it out. At that point in time, the game continued at 9-0 for Mexico. Because that is what you had to do.
Yeah.
That was the correct thing. Because that player was on the court when 19 points were made. Of course, Mexico won the set. But then they came back and lost the 4th set. So Canada eventually won the... Right, Rob? So yes.
Yeah, of course. You're also chairman of the Development Commission. Let's talk about this. Tell us about the work of the commission a little bit.
Well, the Development Commission is, to my feeling and my way in this thing is that Development Commission is so important for the continuation of volleyball in the future. Okay, this is how I see it. Because within a Development Commission, of course, we interact with the Referees Commission, we interact with the Coaches Commission, and we interact with the technical commissions who are also there for ensure that changes are being made and how we communicate these changes and how we assist in development of the referees, coaches, players. And so at our standpoint, the future, one of FIVB goals is to have so much registered players in the future, to have the sport being exposed in terms of numbers. And we see ourselves at the Development Commission charged with that responsibility to increase the number of players and participants in the sport. And in order to do so, we have to make sure that we are in touch and in contact with 221 national federations. Of course, at the national federations, as you would know, there are 5 different categories of national federations, starting from category 1 to category 5. But there are there are 187 category 1 and 2 national federations. And that is where, so it is almost 75% of the members that make up the FIVB are category 1 and 2. And a category 1 and a 2, if you don't know, are the categories that are emerging. the ones that don't play in the World Championships, the ones that even don't play in the World League, well, now not World League, but the VNL, you know. So those are the ones who we are working with more so to bring them up, to get level 1 into level 2 and level 2 to level 3. We have started working now with level 3 and 4 so that we can try to improve a level 3 national team or national federation so that they can go up into level 4. And the president of FIVB has this nucleus program. And the nucleus program is where you look at the 5 or 6 national federations that are level 5, and then all the others that are level 4. You want to see how you could improve, bring level 4 into level 5. Because most of the income from FIVB comes from those category 5 national federations, right? Some of them, like United States, is a category 4. But still, you know, they are so important to FIVB in terms of where the finance come from, so that we can, or that the entire operation that FIVB can exist. So we are looking to see how we can improve that. Also, if you improve the number of players in the world, it's an opportunity for sponsorship. Because if a sponsor knows that you have access to 1 billion people through your sport, of course, that is of value to them, because therefore their product will be exposed to 1 billion people, you know. So what is our function is to try to see how we can improve in the number of players where we can, at the category 1 and 2, try to see what we need to do to improve in their capacity to have more grassroots program so that they can expose the game to the schools and the younger kids, so that while these kids grow up, they will know about the sport. To create an opportunity so that we can have that volleyball is an alternative sport. Too often we have seen that, hey, everybody in the world, when there is World Cup, FIFA World Cup, we know that 3 billion people are attracted to it, even the volleyballers too. But if there are 3 billion people attracted to FIFA World Cup, there are 2 billion people who probably we need to encourage to play volleyball. You know, so there's an opportunity for 2 billion people. So volleyball must be seen as that one, the family sport that we're trying to make it, and I don't think we're trying to, but want to continue to encourage it to develop more and more, and also to increase the number of participants in volleyball worldwide. So the Development Commission shall do that responsibility alongside developing referees when we have to, working with the Referees Commission to develop referees, having program for coaches, developing coaches, and sorry if I've taken too long to explain this one, but it's with the challenge of COVID now, it make training easy but difficult. Theoretically, we can train everything from the books. We can train you the rules of the games, easy. I've seen nice videos that you guys have been doing on hand signals. So you can do your proper hand signals and they can learn it. But how are you going to train a coach to do practicals? Remotely, you know? So at the FIVB, we also have to look at ways and means how to introduce the practical aspect remotely into our programs, because traveling is so difficult now and we cannot allow it to stay dormant. We have to find innovative ways so that we can bring the practical side of our education to everyone in every aspect.
So how do you keep the development in the FIVB in these challenging times of the COVID-19? I mean, the whole volleyball world came into a stop.
Yeah. We have had very difficult times for the last 6 months. We have had coaches who, the FIVB has a development hub. You guys very nice to go through your national federation. Just go into it and see what is there for you. And go into the referee section and look at all the different things that we have for referees. But for the national federations, we have the development hub. And the development hub is accessible to everyone, all the national federations. So apply for programs. So in 2020, at the beginning of the year, it started off pretty nicely. And we have had coaches who had to stay in one country for 6 months, 8 months. We have had a coach right now in one country cannot come off. Mm-hmm. So we have had certain challenges. We have had certain coaches who we were able to bring them out quickly, but nobody knew about when this country is going to lock the border down. And sometimes the border is not locked where the coach might be, but they're home to return. They cannot return. So and then what do? A coach is in country X, I won't call any name because I don't want to say Poland or mm-hmm. But our coach is in Trinidad. I'm in Trinidad. The entire country is under COVID restrictions. It means that his function as a coach cannot take place. He cannot work in the development of the national teams because there is restrictions in travel, there are restrictions in going to the venues, and all the different restrictions that we are all aware of. Mm-hmm. How do we keep that coach in location? He is losing income, he or she, because they cannot go back home or they cannot go to our next job. It is and has been, but now there are some relaxation taking place. Some of the coaches are able to leave, but it has been a challenging time. And we are working with each national federation. It's not a lot, there's a few. Some of them were able to leave quickly and get out and all that. But still, even though they leave, our FIVB coaches would have been in some jurisdiction, but they themselves are unable to earn an income because this is where they live, this is how they live. It's like our professional athletes. When our professional athletes were playing in different parts of the world and the sport had to shut down, sponsorship was reduced or removed, mm-hmm. Athletes' income had to be minimized or also stopped. But we have so many professional athletes living in a different country, no longer playing the sport because their sport not allowed to continue, staying in an apartment, no longer receiving an income from the club because the club has shut down, contract, force majeure took place. What do you do? How do you keep that athlete surviving where they are, not in their comfortable zone, not in their own home country, and still maintain sanity? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, so we at the commission also try to reach out to these athletes wherever they were and wherever they are, and put some of support for them wherever it was possible, not paying their salary, because we couldn't pay everybody's salary. Beach volleyball came to a halt, zero, throughout the world. Mm-hmm. And beach volleyball, some of these athletes depend on, just like the professional athletes and clubs, the beach volleyball athletes also had a life and a loss of income. So the coaches lost income. The athletes lost income, both indoor and beach. Clubs lost income. National Federation lost income. FIVB lost income because they are not hosting championships. Mm-hmm. You know? And we have sponsors that would have been Mikasa. Mikasa ball is not being used, so Mikasa is not selling ball, so they cannot sponsor. It's a whole chain of things that take place, or that took place, that impacted on sport all over the world. But for volleyball, we understand the context, how it impacted on us. And we felt it, you know?
Yeah.
So it is and was a challenge.
Yeah. Tell us briefly, what are the main future ideas and changes the Development Commission is working on today?
Well, the first one, as I said, is how do we train, how do we bring the practical side of any one of our programs that we are doing to be able to train them. How do we do a level 1 coaching course right now or previously before COVID? For instance, a level 1 coaching course, you would have done part of the program, all the theory online, and then all the coaches would have assembled at one location with an FIVB instructor or two, conducting the program to help them learn the basic rudiments of the sport, of the course. Now that is not possible. So we have to design and come up with innovative ways. And that is one of the very biggest concerns is how to facilitate the practical aspect and to certify what is being done outside, you know. Other than that, we have to go back into our coaches program. And there's a coaches program. There's a the program that we will have for development of National Federation grassroots programs. So you can get a coach for 3 months in beach or indoor volleyball in your country. And FIVB will pay the coach. The salary is not sufficient to have Vital with us. I hope he's eating and listening to what I'm saying. But yeah, we coaches program, the grassroots program. And then we have implemented a new program last year where some of these level 3 and level 4 program, National Federation. I see he came back on it. Level 4 programs. I want him in Trinidad, you know, but I don't have this. I cannot pay his salary. I could only offer him guacamole. Yeah, good Caribbean food. But yes, so we have these coaches for the programs where we can now have a national federation in probably category 3 or 4, where they can have an expert coach for 1 year to come and develop a program with the national federation and their national coaches so that their team can progressively get up. You know? So we're hoping that with these different programs we have, it will assist the development. Because one of the aspects, there's a international organization called ASOIF. Have you heard about the ASOIF? Yeah, ASOIF is an association of summer Olympic sports, right? Of which volleyball is a part of it. And it's an organization that helped in monitoring it came out of situations that have occurred with different negative things that were in sports. So ASOIF makes sure that all of these international federations work together to bring about good governance. Okay, it's another area of where I lecture with sports administration too. So good governance is something that we try to encourage, and within the ASOIF structure, transparency in development specifically too is very important, because development, IF's International Federation, some of them has used development as a mechanism through which inappropriate things were done.
Okay.
You know, so how to manage development funding is a really narrow, broad pathway to take to ensure that it is transparent, it's accountable. And what was not taken place in the past is accountability of what was done. So I give you a coach, or I give you money to do a program, and evaluation of these programs were not done. So you get in programs year and year and year and year. You get for 10 years, you have had, let's call it a number. I'm not saying, let's give it an example. You're getting financial support for your national federation for 5 years. but nobody is evaluating the impact of that financial support. And now that is happening at FIVB. It is happening at FIVB. Development Commission, we have implemented it. The board is really happy to see that we have implemented the evaluation of how the development fund has been impacting the national federation.
Yeah.
Because we cannot have a national federation with 1,000 players in 2000. And in 2020, after we have given you so much development, you have still 1,000 or 1,100, you know. So we are paying strong approaches and monitoring, evaluating where the dollars of FIVB is spent and the impact that is making.
Okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. This about more or less concludes the questions that I have.
Yeah, I was about watching my time. I said, hey, we have been talking for the last 90 minutes. Boy, this time fly when we.
It's a very nice
fun.
It's a very nice way to pass time and then have some good. Instead of a 90 minutes match, you have a 90 minutes talk.
Yeah, and there are 31 participants.
Yeah. So I will open now the stage for any. Do you have, before I open the stage for any questions, do you have anything you want to add or to finish with?
No, I mean, I've spoken a lot. It's just that, I mean, before there are 31, I want to first thank the 31 participants, whichever part of the world they are in, and with their time zone and all that. I know how difficult it may be, and they're still awake. I see Sonia, she's wished to go to bed. But and Patty, who is on the West Coast, you know, and Ismail, what time is it there now? Is it maybe midnight by you, Ismail? More or less. But I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity and to be with you, to share with you part of my life and part of my style and my relationship that I have had with you, and you know. And I said, it's an opportunity you have given me. I saw you said, when you send the invitation, that, you know, it's what you said, it's your honor for you to, but in my case, the honor was mine and is mine to be with you, rather than the honor is yours for you to invite me. And Roy, I want to say how much that I mean from if I would have put on my FIVB hat here, and say that from I cannot speak on behalf of the president, but as a board member, I really, really am happy and encourage you and encourage all the participants to do this, to keep you guys involved and learn from each other. Learning from the top, learning from each other. I don't like the word top, as you know, but learning from each other. But I understand the context, you know. But we are learning from each other. I learned so much when you have the referees with you, and to learn, because some of the things that they shared, I want to say, I do the same thing, you know, and to understand that we are so similar, you know, and we have the same type of passion, and we all do it for the love of volleyball, you know. And so I want to compliment you for this initiative, first of all, and for all your colleagues, because without the other 31 participants here watching and listening, they would have no program, you know. So I am really, really, really happy to see this happen. And it's very difficult. People don't know. It's difficult to do this week after week after week. It's challenging. It takes time, it takes effort to plan it, to design it, and to make it happen. So to you, Roy, thank you so much on behalf of everyone for doing this job.
Thank you for your kind words. I do it with much, you know, it's almost natural for me to do that, because if you're not whistling, so you have to do something else about it. And you want to stay in contact with people and to use this magnificent tool that we have, the Zoom or this type of technology to connect and to learn from each other, like you say, and to hear when we are together in a competition, we share our knowledge and we share our experience, and we do it the same now on the Zoom. So for me, it's really natural and very easy to do that. But again, thank you very much for your kind words. Guys, anybody wants to have any questions or anything to say to Mr. Mushtaque before we finish this meeting? Anybody? Yeah,
Patty.
go on, Patty.
Well, Mushtaque, the one thing I want to say to Mushtaque, but more importantly to the group, although I know you're watching the United States and wondering what is going on in my country politically, I often wake up and wonder what's going on in my country as well. But we do have elections in November, so time will tell how crazy we really are here. But besides that, I think what we're not seeing in our current president, the poor leadership, the pitting sides against sides, this elitist type of behavior, and not trying to bring groups together, diverse groups, very different groups, which is what every country, every school, every family, you know, I think about my family. My husband comes from a family of 8 children. I come up from a family of 6 children, and I'm telling you, we don't all get along, right? We all have different views, very strong views, but we're a family and we work hard to stick together. And I think Mushtaque, one thing Mushtaque has always done, and that's what I think is reflective of a great coach, whether you're coaching a team, what I describe is, especially in the United States, for many of you, I'm the director of officials in the U.S. And what we're talking about now is, you know, we don't have supervisors. We don't have, we don't have raters. What we have is coaches. And we have people that are in charge of bringing a group of adults and children together to function as a team, whether, you know, our children help ref our juniors games, right? We have adults that are leading, but the kids help us with lining and all these things. And Mushtaque is a man that I've been with a long time. And I have never met a man like Mushtaque, the kindest, most generous, most people-driven guy that I've met. And he really has taught me as the head of officials in the U.S. how you bring people together as a great coach. He can get a lot of different groups of people to get together. You know, I do even remember meals, how important us on these officiating trips that, as you said earlier, we're all eating together, and he comes in and he eats with us as great coaches do. So I just want to thank Mushtaque, and I think for all of us, we see the kind of leadership that we should see in our presidents, our coaches, as a family member. I just think if we can continue to have leaders like Mushtaque, the world would be a much better place. And I want to thank you, Mushtaque, for what you've done for me. As it's my second year into this new position. That what we're trying to do in the U.S. is just make it a kinder, gentler officiating department, and really encouraging as many young people to get into the field and to getting our coaches to understand how to treat people well. Because if our coaches are really hard on officials, especially at the youth level, young kids don't want to officiate because they don't want to be treated so poorly. And you're teaching, I think, coaches, because you have coaches here that are listening. Well, it's important, at the Olympic level or international level, it's one thing. But when that kind of treatment, when coaches at that youth level are yelling at young kids, yelling at referees, being very, very divisive, young children don't look at a referee and say, I want to grow up and be that person. And this is not good for the sport. You need good referees, and they're going to come from the children. They're going to come from the players. They're going to come from the coaches, and they're going to come from people that just like to watch and play the game. And Mushtaque, I think I want to thank you for everything that you've done for me personally, and I know for the officiating group. You and a bunch of other great coaches out there are really helping us know that when we're done working or being a player or a rep, as I call it, we can then become coaches and help our people, and I want to thank you for that.
Thanks, Patty. I appreciate your words of your kindness, and as I said earlier, Like Roy, it's part of my nature. It's part of, doing it like that, and it's an honor to do it. I appreciate doing it, and I love doing it. Roy, you asked me something, but I would love to hear from Coach Vital. If
Yeah,
you will
that's
share
that's the person I want to invite, Mr. Vital Hainan. Please come and say your piece.
I'm sitting in the dark, so I don't know if you can see me.
You can definitely
sitting
hear
outside
you.
I'm sitting outside on my terrace in Perugia. I think, of course, I found some things interesting to listen, and always it's nice to, and I think for sure I go to you, Roy, because you do something. You bring on this moment worlds from two sides together. I already appreciate when I could talk to you about how it is to be a coach and looking to referees, and now you put coaches and supervisors together and how they see things. I think that is something I like the most about it, to really make practical steps to bring us together, because with my dear supervisor, I had already the chance to sit on a table and talk, but I think it's the general idea to bring people together what I like. I was not always agreeing, but that's my job, not to always agree with things. I apologize for that. And so I think I want that we have professionality on every level. And I expect not from myself, but from my players, from my organization, but also from FIVB, that it's on the maximum level. And I was not always, and I will not always agree with happening. I think we should always push to make our sport better. And I think that with Mohammed, I found somebody, at least we could discuss about it always, and that I really liked. I think it's for me very important that at the end, we can talk like people. I also remember you, Roy, we had also our discussions, but we came out and sitting and talking and smiling. At least I was smiling. And I think that is the goal of all of us, to build a family. I think that I thank you. I thank everybody who's participating on this meeting, because everybody is making a small step in making this volleyball family, who's not always together in my eyes, a bigger family, a real bigger family. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Coach Vital, I just want to say that, and for every one of us, I say we don't have to agree with everything, but we must know why. It is important for us to have a plausible explanation why there are differences. And if we know the reason behind the decision, we can grow to sometimes accept it. But it's not because I say so, It can never be because I say so. And this is why sometimes Coach Vital and I, we will have our explanation. He has his job to do, and he and I, we share that. You have your job to do, and similarly, I have my job to do. And our both jobs are important. We have to get it done, even though if we don't agree with what we have to do.
Of course. Okay, so if there are no more any questions.
Can I please, Roy?
Please, Brian.
Can I?
Me too.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. I just want to say, Mr. Mohammed, firstly, thanks for the support that you have given me personally throughout the years. I want to say thanks for the support you have given the referees in Trinidad and Tobago over the years, also within the zone, Cassava zone, Nausicaa, and the work that you are doing also at the FIVB level. And I want to tell you to continue to be the person that you are. You have been the same person who I met from probably I think it's back in 1995 to now. You have maintained that personality. And it is one of the things that I think that people throughout the volleyball world and to the world appreciates you for. And just continue to do it and continue the good work right through. My little say.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Just Roy,
Yeah.
continue doing this fantastic job. Right? It is very excellent. Just continue doing it.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Sonia.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Mustache. I want for Mustache to prepare for me another great salad, like in Puerto Rico.
Guacamole.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Thank you for everything, for all advice, for support to us. So it is for us very important. You are really good, but all technical delegates, not all, but some of you, it's great.
Thank you so much.
But you are totally great person, good friend, and also all our volleyball family.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Mustache.
Mushtaq,
Sorry, Roy.
yeah, please.
Just for me, Roy, just a quick list of a few words as well. I mean, there's a reason why everyone is speaking up, and specifically for Mushtaque. I've had the opportunity to work with Mushtaque on a few events as well, and as Brian and Patty and Sonia have alluded to, and just a stand-up individual, same person, very forthcoming. Works so well with the referees, and just has a great disposition about him. And so we are very fortunate, and me particular in Narseca. So Mushtaque, thank you for all that you do. Appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Just before we finish, Mushtaq, we talked about it in our meeting a few days ago. You like to learn languages. You like to cook, and you like to talk about it and to show it. You said now in our meeting that you learn about the culture of the country that you go to, or the people that you're going to see there. How does this help you in doing your work, or communicating with the people once you arrive to the venue? We spoke about it, but I think it's important for the other people to listen.
Yeah, the thing about it, if I go to Japan and I could say to the Japanese at breakfast, "Ohayo gozaimasu." Right away, you could see the response into, he could speak Japanese, Or you go to Poland and you say, "Dzień dobry." Or you go to Thailand and you say, "Sawadee and these simple, small, just one sentence, two sentences, it helps in breaking the barriers, in language. And yes, I love language. I can speak a little bit more in Spanish and English, but I love to know, I can speak Canadian, Andrew. But I love to know that we can interact with each other and say something. You say something in their language, and it helps in breaking that ice. It helps in your relationship when you go to them, but mind you, some people might think that you're being a mockery to them if you do not do it well. As I explained to you before, in terms of culture, that we need to go and learn the people's culture, because if you don't, you could go in a country and make a mistake in doing something that you're accustomed doing at home. So you need to learn people's culture, and you need to learn before you go out. I encourage you to do that, or to call somebody, ask, is there something I should know about doing things differently, So it's important. And yes, I love languages. I love greeting people. And sometimes I went in Japan recently for before the Olympics, we had the World Cup. And at the beginning of the meeting, there were Poland and some Italian and Portuguese, and I learned in 13 different languages how to say something, either good morning or how are you, or hi, something. But yes, it is very important for us to travel. When we travel, learn something. Don't go back home, or don't go to a venue without knowing something. And I love, because being a Muslim, I love when I interact with my brothers from, especially, who can speak Arabic, because Arabic is not our our language. But I can read Arabic because of being a Muslim and read the Quran. So when I go now and I deal with those guys, and the pronunciation is so different from when I know it. So I can get some guidance from Ismail and these guys and about the pronunciation, you know. So I love it. I love it, and I encourage everybody to learn a language.
I think that this breaking barriers is something very important for our jobs. When we arrive to a different country and nobody knows you and sees you for the first time, and you say something or you do something which is obviously very friendly. Saying hello, meaning that you were thinking about them. You learn the language, or you know to do something about, and you show them, yes, I know your language. Here I can speak these 2-3 words, or I know how you, what are the traditional dishes that you do because we cook. And wow, I love this and this dish and plantain here, or the pierogi in Russia, or whatever. And they see that you are interested in their habits and everything, so they open up for you, and then it will be easier for you to work with them, to receive their help, and to do your job more smoothly.
Have you ever eaten okonomiyaki?
Not yet.
Well, I learned in Japan, okonomiyaki is an egg dish, you know, because again, being Muslim, as I said, you cannot eat many things. But I go and I realized okonomiyaki is something made out of eggs, you know, and it's like an egg pancake. But
yeah, I know they have a very traditional kind of like a omelette, like a thick pancake omelette thing that they can put.
Okonomiyaki.
Anyway, Mr. Mushtaque, it was a great pleasure. It
Drop
was
the
a
Mr.
great
Not Mr.
conversation.
Please not, Roy, not Mr.
My friend Mushtaque, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for your time and for your experience sharing with us. I will upload this meeting to the